OpenClaw is the fastest growing open source project in history. It's also been called the biggest threat of 2026 by multiple security firms. Both of those things are true at the same time, and understanding why is what separates people who use it safely from people who end up leaking their API keys, or worse, giving malicious scripts full control over their entire machine. So I'm breaking down everything I wish I knew before I set mine up, from the security side to the cost to the features that actually make it worth using. OpenClaw has full access to the system it's installed on. It can create files, delete files, install software, modify settings, and execute terminal commands. That's by design, because that's what allows it to actually execute tasks on your behalf. But in January 2026, researchers found they could easily steal API keys and chat histories from misconfigured OpenClaw setups. They found over 30,000 poorly set up agents left completely exposed online. Even worse than that, a huge security flaw allowed dangerous websites to take full control of your system without you knowing anything about it. And that terrifying reality brings up lesson number 1, which is easily the biggest. Never run OpenClaw on the machine where you keep your personal files, your passwords, and your work. The fix a lot of people found for this is buying a dedicated Mac Mini just to run the agent. But honestly, that takes a massive toll on your wallet since new hardware is not cheap. So instead of burning cash on extra hardware, the smartest move I've found is setting up a VPS. It's essentially a dedicated virtual computer that lives in the cloud, runs 24/7, and is way more budget friendly. If something goes wrong, you delete the server and rebuild it in 2 minutes. Your personal stuff is never at risk because it was never on that machine in the first place. The platform I went with for this is Hostinger, because they have a one-click OpenClaw template that skips all the terminal setup. I've left a link in the description that takes you straight to the deploy page, and it comes with an extra 10% off. When you land on the page, click choose plan, and you'll be taken to the cart. I went with the 12-month plan because the coupon only works on plans longer than 1 month, and the monthly cost drops a lot on the longer terms. And now I'll write the coupon code Yuri right here. I also turned on daily auto backups because OpenClaw can modify its own server environment. If your agent breaks something, you'll want a clean version to roll back to. Finally, I'll keep ready to use AI on right here. This is basically Hostinger's built-in AI credit system that lets you access models from OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and xAI instantly through OpenClaw. I'll explain how this works in a bit. Leave the server location on default since it picks the lowest latency option automatically, and then click continue and finish the payment. Once that's done, you'll land on the OpenClaw configuration page. The first field is the gateway token, which is the password to your entire dashboard. Copy the token and save it in a secured location because you'll need it every time you log in. Next, you'll need to configure the AI model. Now, Hostinger gives you 2 options here. You can either connect your own API keys from a providers like Anthropic or OpenAI, or you can use Nexus AI credits. In my case, I'm using Nexus AI credits, which makes things much simpler because Hostinger handles the API integrations automatically and at no additional cost. But if you want to use Claude directly, you can go to platform.anthropic.com and create an API key. You'll want to load at least $5 in credits so the model has funds to run on. Copy the key, go back to Hostinger, and paste it into the Anthropic field. That field doesn't appear for me because I'm using Nexus credits, but if you're using your own API keys, it would show up right here. Scroll down and click deploy. It takes about 2 to 5 minutes to build, and when it's done, you'll see a project called OpenClaw. Click the open button, paste in your gateway token, and you're in. The first thing to do is configure your agent's identity. Say hello in the chat, and OpenClaw will ask you a series of questions about who it is, who you are, and what kind of assistant you want. Answer those, and your agent's personality is locked in. After that, connect a messaging channel so you can talk to your agent from your phone. The easiest one is Telegram. Just tell your agent set up Telegram, and it'll walk you through the steps. Now your agent is live and reachable from your pocket, and that is the first lesson checked off. It is running in an isolated environment where it cannot touch your personal files. But while your personal files are finally safe, your bank account is about to take a massive hit if you are not careful. And that brings us to the second lesson. I wish someone had told me earlier. OpenClaw burns through API credits much faster than a normal chatbot session. Every interaction, every automation, every sub-agent task, and every skill that runs in the background costs tokens, and those tokens add up quickly. On Claude Opus, a single complex task with multiple tool calls can cost $1 or $2. Run a few of those per day, add a couple of scheduled automations on top, and you are looking at $10 to $15 a day without even being excessive. The fix to this is incredibly simple. OpenClaw lets you create sub-agents to which you can assign cheaper models for any work that does not need heavy reasoning. These are basically specialized workers that your main agent delegates tasks to. You can have one handling research, another handling data, and a third handling content. I will paste in a prompt that creates a data analysis sub-agent called Orion running on Claude Sonnet, and I will create a second one for copywriting tasks called Nova, also on Sonnet. Now, if I refresh the Agents tab in the OpenClaw dashboard, Nova and Orion show up right there as completely separate agents, each with their own workspace. But the massive hidden benefit here isn't only just the cost savings, because these sub-agents are specialized, they run inside their own completely isolated context windows. If you've ever tried forcing a single AI to analyze a massive dataset and then immediately write a creative script, you know it quickly starts losing the plot and forgetting instructions. By splitting them up, your data agent only sees data and your writer only sees the text. Their memories stay perfectly clean and hyper-focused, which means you get fewer hallucinations, faster processing, and way more accurate results. Now my main agent stays on Opus for complex decision making, and the routine work gets passed to Sonnet-powered sub-agents at a fraction of the cost. That takes care of costs. But lesson number 3 is about securing your data, because there is another way to lose big with OpenClaw, and it is a lot harder to undo. Skills are plugins that teach your agent new abilities, things like searching the web, reading Reddit, managing your smart home, or pulling data from APIs. ClawHub is the marketplace where these live, and it has over 10,000 community-built skills available. However, the huge problem is that a lot of those skills could actually be malicious. In fact, security researchers at Koi Security, the exact same cybersecurity team that audits major enterprise software, found almost 900 dangerous plugins sitting right there on the storefront. That's roughly 1 out of every 12 skills on the platform. Some of them were designed to steal your passwords, others scraped your private data, and a few delivered actual viruses. So before you install any skill, check the download count and the star rating. If a skill has thousands of downloads and strong ratings, it's generally safe. If it has a handful of downloads, no description, and a publisher account that's quite recent, it's better to not download it. The safer approach for connecting external services is to use a trusted service like Zapier MCP. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. You can think of it like a universal and highly secure plug that lets your AI talk to outside apps without you ever having to hand over your actual passwords. So instead of giving OpenClaw direct access to your Gmail or your calendar through an unknown skill, you route it through Zapier, where you can control exactly which permissions the agent gets. You decide whether it can read emails, draft emails, or send emails, and you can revoke any of those at any time. To set this up, you first go to the Skills tab on the left panel, type in MC Porter, and enable that specific tool. After that, you just tell your agent to connect to your Zapier MCP server and paste in the connection details. The agent configures it in about 10 seconds, and now I can see exactly which tools it has access to and what it can do with each one. This is slower than installing a ClawHub skill, but it's also the only approach where you have full control over what your agent touches. With your agent secured and your budget under control, lesson number 4 is fixing the memory problem, which usually does not show up until about a week in. After about 7 to 10 days of regular use, you'll notice your agent dropping details, preferences you set, decisions you made together, project context you spent time building up. All of it starts fading from the conversation. This happens because of how OpenClaw manages its memory. As you keep chatting, the context window fills up, and to prevent it from overflowing and running up your token costs, OpenClaw runs a process called compaction. Compaction takes older conversations, summarizes them into a short compressed version, and deletes the originals. The problem is that the summary almost always loses the specific details that actually mattered. The fix takes 30 seconds. You send your agent a single prompt that tells it to save the stuff that matters to a persistent file before compaction runs. What this does is create a system where your agent writes decisions, preferences, and project details to a file that survives compaction. The conversation gets compressed, but the information you care about stays intact because it was saved separately. And if you want to go further, you can set up a self-improving system on top of this. Every time you correct your agent or tell it to do something differently, it logs that correction and adjusts going forward. After about 2 weeks, the corrections start compounding and your agent stops repeating the same mistakes. I'll paste that prompt in too. With memory locked in, we reach the 5th and final lesson, and it is the one thing that makes all of this worth the setup. The absolute best part of OpenClaw, and what makes it significantly better than a standard chatbot, is how it handles scheduled automations. You can tell it to perform complex tasks entirely on its own while you are completely away from your devices. Every morning at 7 AM, my agent sends me a complete competitor intel on Telegram. It scans the web for 3 specific rival companies, pulls their latest press releases, product updates, and news mentions from the last 24 hours, and packages the whole thing into a quick bulleted summary that is waiting for me when I wake up. I configured this once, and it has been running every single morning since. To build this, you send your agent a single prompt describing what you want. I'll paste mine in. Once that morning briefing is out of the way, I have the agent pivot straight to my actual workload. So I have a second automation that kicks in at 10 AM. This one connects to my email, scans my unread messages for the word invoice or anything from my top clients, extracts the due dates and amounts, and turns them into a priority action list. I will paste that prompt too. And here it is. It has given me exactly what I asked for. If you go to the cron jobs tab in your dashboard, you'll see both of these listed as scheduled tasks, and you can change the timing or turn them off whenever you want. Once you've got automations running alongside sub-agents and a memory system that keeps improving, the whole setup starts to feel less like a tool and more like something that's actively working for you in the background. And getting that advantage is exactly why setting this up properly from day one is so critical. Build it the right way, and you'll have a fully automated private AI powerhouse right at your fingertips. To start setting up OpenClaw the safe way today, hit the Hostinger link in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.